I think we've agreed that texting has utility, but it's limited utility. So let's, as we sort of continue to unpack this thing, let's leave the texting behind for now.
Yeah.
And okay, so this has happened, right? What should we as employers think about when we're making split-second decisions like this? Or what should we think about after we've done it? Because I think maybe that's more important. These things are going to happen, right? You have to make split-second decisions. You don't want to put yourself in a scenario where you give yourself an excuse to suffer analysis paralysis, right? You know, you like in this scenario, her boss needed to make a call and did, right?
Yeah,
and made an executive decision. So fine. You make those executive decisions. It communicates something. You don't necessarily know what, because it's almost certainly different than what you thought you communicated. So how do you deal with the ripple effects? Like, should we be doing debriefs or postmortems? And how do you know when you're supposed to even do one of those? How do you set your culture up so that these kinds of things don't wind up being just perpetually misunderstood?
Yeah, those are good. Those are very good questions. I think some of this, I think you have to trust your gut. And if you feel like something, it depends how in tune you are to these things. But, you know, sometimes you have a discussion where you just have a sense like, well, maybe that didn't quite go the way I wanted it, or they maybe didn't interpret it correctly. Some people are oblivious to this stuff, and I'm sure I am on some level, but sometimes, you know, after you have some kind of conversation, you think, well, maybe they didn't pick up on it, or I didn't get the kind of response I was expecting. Maybe that's part of it. Like, I don't know how your daughter responded to them, but if he didn't get the response, for example, perhaps she could have said, okay, I understand you want to keep the rest of the team healthy. I'll see you at the next event. Okay, that would have kind of maybe been my expectation. But I think I would have gone over the top a bit, which I've learned to do, and I don't want to focus just on text. But when you're communicating with your employees, you've got to lay it out there, because they don't know what's in your head. And as we've talked about here before, they don't think like you do, right? And you don't necessarily want them to. They think like employees, so their priorities are different. And so, you know, I think you have to try to put yourself in their position.
If I may,
maybe that's what I'm getting at.
I think if I can crystallize the thought you are making here, I think what I'm hearing from you, and maybe I'm getting it wrong, and we're going to share an example of this happening in real time. But I think what you're saying is it's not up to your employees to read your mind. It's up to you to make sure they understand what you intended.